Zaman, welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching Morning Barakah exclusively live on Imam Hussein TV 3. Innovation, bid'ah. In Islam, it's haram, yes, we know that, but innovating in the tech industry is not. But the tech industry is a dynamic and complex endeavor marked by numerous challenges and difficult procedures because with new advancements of technology at an unprecedented rate, staying ahead of the curve really requires constant adaptation and a keen awareness of the industry trends. Now, the competitive nature of the tech sector means that companies must strive to differentiate themselves through unique and groundbreaking solutions. Now, joining me online is Asad Hamir, a tech wizard and the co-founder of KLYK, KLYK, a company that helps you make smarter and greener choices with your technology. And ironically, Asad, Assalamu alaikum, first of all.
Alaikum salam. Great to be on the show. Thank you so much for having me.
I was just saying, ironically, we were delayed due to tech issues. However, we might have to bring you in to see what we can do in terms of some of our tech issues. Although that's not to take away from our current tech wizards, but I guess you're an expert in your field. It's a pleasure to have you on the show. So tell me first and foremost about KLYK, KLYK.
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, it was apologies I couldn't make it into the studio. If I could have, then I could have definitely helped with those tech issues. KLYK. So KLYK's mission is to make circular the new standard in the IT industry, and through that to make a more sustainable and equitable technology world for our future generations. So circular is the word that we use a lot, and many people may not have heard about it. The circular economy was actually invented by a guy called Walter Stahel. What he talked about is the Industrial Revolution has obviously driven a model where we've taken resources from our natural environments, we've used them to make products. We use them maybe a couple of cycles, take clothes or something, we'll wear them for a period of time, get a wash, this t-shirt might get 20 washes out of it, and then donate it to a secondhand store or something. They then pass it on to someone else, they'll use it a few times, and then it goes to a dumping yard or it'll get dumped somewhere. And those resources obviously at that point just get incinerated or turn to trash. There's not a cyclical taking those resources and turning them back into materials. And what he talks about is that, with climate change the way it is, with the world, piling up with dumping grounds all over, and a lot of these dumping grounds actually ending up in, third world countries all over the world. We can't continue like this. And the new kind of way of doing things should be a circular way. So where we take materials from nature, we turn them into products, but then at the end of life, we turn them back into raw materials that then can be used to make new products. But also maybe change the way that we own products as well. So not just own them, but do we rent them? Do the manufacturers actually take responsibility for owning the products and then turning them back into new products? So rethinking the whole operating system of how we actually make products. So KLYK is, sorry, go ahead.
No, you're going to say KLYK is?
Yeah, so KLYK is about really helping businesses adopt that circular model, making it simple for them to realize the circular economy for their IT. So from the purchasing side of things, we help businesses adopt more sustainable alternatives. So refurbished devices, refurbished laptops, monitors, desktops. So there it's, could be the latest MacBook Pros all the way through to devices that are a few years old, to then the repairing, the recycling, the rental of them. I think people have got freelancers coming in, they could, instead of buying. We try and make it simple for businesses to do so.
Asad, before we get into the nitty-gritty details of KLYK, I guess my concern here is that are companies genuinely interested in being sustainable, or Is it just a tick box because the government has put pressure on them to be more sustainable because they have to fill a certain quota by a certain time?
Yeah, so where we are from a climate change point of view is we're in a very critical state, and that's been very well documented. And my kind of my kind of knowledge of the climate change kind of challenge came from Blue Planet a few years ago. I don't know if you remember that Richard Attenborough
Yeah,
program. We talked about a lot of plastic in the oceans
yeah,
and how it's
yeah,
ending up on beaches and stuff. Ever since then, there's been a growing kind of awareness of how big a challenge that we have, and we're seeing this, day in, day out, week in, week out, year in, year out, more and more natural disasters happening due to climate change. So I think
yeah,
everyone is very much aware. But you're right. Businesses ultimately, if they're not commercial, they're not able to, make their bottom line. They don't survive, right? So, but
yeah,
one of the key things in IT, and one of the reasons why it's kind of one of the lowest hanging fruit from a sustainability point of view, is that this actually saves businesses money, because if they're able to adopt a fully circular approach,
yeah,
they're able to save money by buying, because they're buying refurbished instead of buying new. They're able to, if things break, they're not just going out and buying a new device, they're repairing. At the end of life, it's, not leaving your devices stocked up in a cupboard, but turning those back into cash again for you.
yeah,
So it's helping businesses realize the economic benefits, which, then starts to tick the box for the bean counters, right? As well as
yeah.
the guys that really do care about sustainability as well.
Yeah. So speaking about innovation now, it must be quite time consuming and also a bit of a risk, because there's a potential financial and time commitments that are on you. How do you personally approach kind of risk management when investing in new technologies or untested ideas?
So I always say that you have to start small, and then dream big. Yeah. So I'm a firm believer in testing business models. So even with KLYK, it was a new idea. No one is doing, and still to today, no one's really doing what we're doing in the market. You got to start small. You have to test with your customers, get your early adopter customers on board, people that are going to be the kind of people that are going to help you build the business. Give you feedback, not knock you down when you get things wrong, and then scale with them, and then recruit more people along that journey. So it's about getting that early traction, and people talk about something called product market fit. So product market fit is when you're trying to do something new, it's about getting that fit into the market. And that's why such a high percentage of startups fail, is because they come with new ideas that aren't necessarily either the market's not right for them, or the execution sometimes is not quite right either. So key is that product market fit. But once you have that product market fit, and you've got that traction, then it's about pedal, hitting on the slipstream, and just executing at speed. And there, perfection is not the target. You have to be able to embrace imperfection. So we talk about things being 70 or 80%
Yeah.
good. Then you just that's fine. It's much better to have speed than to try and go for perfection.
Yeah. So look, I mean, from what I know, from my experience speaking to companies and startup companies, it's such a fast-paced world, and the industry evolves almost on a weekly basis. There's always something new coming onto the
Yeah.
market, and we know that 70, 80, 90% of new products fail in the market because they probably don't understand consumers, or the market trends have changed. How do you stay relevant in such a fast-paced moving industry?
So one of the things that you got to do is very much immerse yourself in the market. So you got to
Yeah,
be in the places where people are talking about these things, and you can't do it from afar. You got to get it in front of the people that are talking these things. It's not just about watching the YouTube videos. It's getting to the conferences, speaking to people, people, getting those little bits of insight from people who are on the cutting edge, are with customers, and you know, and then actually meeting your customers. There's a guy called Steve Blank who's written a book all around the lean startup, and what he talks about is get out of the building.
Yeah.
Don't sit in front of your computer and think you're going to create a business model. Get in front of your customers. Meet your first 100 customers who actually start a business. You know, really understand what are the pain points, what are the things that you know are their challenges, and we do this all the time. You know, like even now we're meeting with like this week we met with a customer. There's so many insights that are gonna drive our next products for next year, and it's an ongoing iterative process. So you have to be customer led more than anything. You know, yes, it's exciting when tech's involved, but ultimately the customer has to be at the heart of everything.
Yeah. So look, I mean, I'm going to take a small break, Asad, and after the break, we'll talk about more about Muslim engagement in the tech industry, if that's okay with you. So we'll come back in a couple of minutes.
Pleasure.
Welcome back, dear viewers of Imam Hussein TV. If you've just joined us, we are speaking to the co-founder of KLYK, KLYK, that's Asad Hamir. And we're speaking innovation in a fast-paced industry, and that's the tech industry. We're not talking about innovation in Islam, because of course that is bid'ah and that is haram. We're not talking about that at all. We're talking about innovating in the tech industry. Now, we understand that some of our youngsters are interested in this world and living in this generation. The youngsters that have grown up in the world of social media and mobile phones and technology, they're very much invested in this world. So Asad, I want to come back to you if that's okay. And I guess my first question from a Muslim perspective or from a youth perspective is that there are a lot more children who are interested in this world. How do we guide them to be successful in this world? I'm sorry, Asad, I think your audio is off maybe, or you're on mute.
Is that better? Is that better? Yeah. Apologies.
Yeah. That's
Apologies.
all right.
Yeah, just I wanted to share my personal story, I guess, which I think is relevant for this.
Please.
So mum and dad came from East Africa, and dad was an electrical engineer. And dad, you know, time, I guess everyone coming from abroad, I'm sure is similar to your family, Ali. You know, education was a very important thing to help, you know, get the kids to rise, because it was all about, you know, kids, the next generation not having the same life as them, right? But dad, for whatever reason, filled the house with technology as well. So he saw technology as a way for me to rise and the family to rise and the kids to rise. So we always had a computer before everyone else. You know, he'd tell me stories about, you know, his lecturers at university who had gone in to invent things, and it built this fascination for technology, you know, in my head from a young age. So I think one of the key things is, especially with our kids, is really, you know, helping them embrace technology. I think there's, you know, my personal view on this is that, you know, whilst at the same time there has to be limits on screen time and things like that, but it's really important that kids these days really get to understand technology and embrace it and see the importance of it and learn the key skills of it, like, you know, content creation, programming, coding, you know, all those types of things, because these are the new currencies of the world of tomorrow, right? So I think that's one of the first things that I would say. I think then it's about us creating those frameworks for kids to actually rise, and I think, you know, there it's about people helping others to rise. You know, we've in our Khoja community, we've started a business center in Harefield called Future. And, you know, there we're really about, it's an impact-led project, and it's really about helping communities, our community, to really rise in the technology world, in the business world. And it's putting, you know, creating a culture where, you know, it's not closed off. It's not like I have this idea and I'm not going to share it because I'm worried that guy's going to copy it. It's about, you know, true entrepreneurship. It's about sharing and helping others rise, because when we help others rise, we rise together.
Yeah. So, you know, as I mentioned, look, those who are actually looking into these careers, it's so fast paced. If you are, for example, as a person who's hiring the next best thing, what's the criteria that you look for in a candidate?
So the very first thing is attitude. I can't give that person attitude.
Yeah.
That has to be, how they wake up in the morning with a smile on their face, with a positive mindset. You can absolutely change your attitude. You can change your mindset, but that has to come from within. And
Yeah.
so, will and skill thing. I can teach the skills, but I can't give the will. And I can coach people on the will, but you've got to have the raw materials there. So one of the first things is having that can-do attitude, having that mindset. Unfortunately, because of our backgrounds and where we come from, we're always going to have that little bit more to prove than other people. So we have to go into these conversations and these interviews and these business meetings with that mindset that we need to be that little bit better than everyone else, or a lot better than everyone else. And
Yeah.
so I think that's what we need to instill into our kids, into this current generation, that you're always going to be that little bit further behind, right? But that doesn't mean that you can't succeed. And actually, you're living in one of the best countries in the world, to do so, in the UK, where you can achieve that. And there's so much, like you said, there's so much opportunity. The technology industry and other industries, we're in a golden era of innovation now. And it's just about going out, seeking out those opportunities.
There's an age-old question, Asad, which I'd love to pick your brains on. And it's becoming increasingly a topic of discussion amongst our youth, and that, do I go to university and go through the traditional routes, or you've seen so many entrepreneurs and their exciting businesses and these new products. Do I kind of avoid all that and have more of a hands-on experience, especially with leading companies in tech and AI and even cybersecurity? They're looking for more experience. So what's your view on the two routes?
Yeah, sure. So my personal journey was, I was an optometrist. I did optometry at university, and
Wow.
I went from optometry into
MashaAllah.
technology. Now, I could say that my degree didn't actually help me with what I do today, but actually, I've then done technology businesses that are related to the eyes. And
Okay.
so actually, I've been able to link my passion for technology with my skill for what I've learned in IT. So, I think first thing I would say is, yes, today you have a lot more choices, and that path is, you got different paths that you can take, rather than the kind of traditional GCSE A levels, university, try and get to the best university and get a job.
Yeah.
So yes, you do have those paths, but don't be in a rush. One of the key things is you need to build yourself out as an individual, as a person, and develop your skills, hone those skills in environments, learning off other people. A big regret that I have personally is being able to go into professional environments, corporate environments. I went straight into business pretty much after 9 months of university. And so I always say to people that go, don't be in a rush. Enjoy those first few years.
Yeah.
Enjoy university, enjoy the learning, enjoy the being uncomfortable, putting yourself into tons of situations where you are learning and you're growing and you're developing.
Yeah.
And you'll always start a business. There's that famous stat about entrepreneurs and where success happens. And the success rate of entrepreneurs increases with age. There's no fluke there, right? It's experience, it's know-how, it's having gone through the pains, the challenges, the motivation. Yeah, so that's always what I would say.
Interesting.
But at the same time, if you have that killer idea, go for it, make it happen, build it as a side hustle, and
Yeah.
then build on it. And if you've got slipstream, you got to go for it.
Yeah, yeah. So I've been flicking through your social media. One thing I noticed was B Corp month. In my
Yeah.
previous experiences, I'd heard a lot about B Corp, and companies want to get B Corp, I think, accredited, or is it like an accreditation? How does B Corp work? Firstly, and then I'll ask
Yeah.
a follow-up question after that.
Sure. So B Corp is actually a framework for what I believe the future of business. So
Okay.
B Corp is a certification, and it's basically all around building a business for good. Now, I believe the currency of future businesses is doing good in the world. And if you think of what we're trying to do at KLYK, we're trying to help the planet with our, circular systems. At the same time, we're also donating lots of devices. In the last year, we donated over 100 laptops to people,
Oh well.
who don't have access to technology at home. This year, we're trying to donate 1,000 laptops. And that's basically what the B Corp framework is all around. It's about what can you do in the world to do good, but not just that, but how do you do good for your employees? How do you do good for your stakeholders? How do you do good for your partners? How do you build a business that's for good? And in doing good, you will make more money. And that's the whole thing that they kind of build a framework to help you create a structure for your business that you can do good in the world. And it's tough to get the certification. Like it took us a year to get that certificate. We actually got our recertification coming up this year. But I
Okay.
would recommend every business out there to get their B Corp certification. It's a fantastic framework that every business can use. And also,
Yeah.
it's a great community to join. There's over 3,000 B Corps now in this country
Okay.
and globally. And, there's lots of like meetups that they have, lots of sharing of ideas that you can create by meeting other business owners. So yeah, it's a fantastic framework. If anyone would like to find out any more information,
Ca-
please do get in touch.
Yeah, can you make that relatable to the home? Because I saw some, one of the posts that you had on social media was B Corp month or something like that. I think it was B Corp week or B Corp
Yeah,
month or something like that.
yeah, it's big
And
of
then
month. Yeah.
making your house more sustainable. How do I make my home more sustainable?
So I think firstly, it's looking at the key things that are driving the unsustainability of the house, I guess,
Yeah,
and energy consumption would be the key one. So
yeah,
looking at how can you bring down your energy consumption? Looking at for example, do you have a smart? Are you then being able to measure your energy consumption? Where are those areas that your energy is being used up? Is it that you're leaving plugs connected? Is it that you have a faulty appliance potentially, which is overusing power? Even having iPhones connected on charge, when the charge is got to 100%, it's still pumping power at your device. It's better to just charge them, between 20 and 80% and not charge them overnight. So things like that from energy consumption, then you can kind of go into, right, how do you travel? How can you reduce the amount of travel consumption that you're doing? Where can you use a bike? Where can you walk? Instead of taking the car. Do you need to buy a car? Can you lease a car instead? Can you rent a car? Where can you use Ubers to travel? Then into food, how we buy food.
yeah,
We obviously love our meat, right? But
yeah.
how can we substitute, our meat, vegetarian, for vegan options? And yeah, it's looking at the whole thing holistically and saying, right,
Okay.
actually, how can I make a difference? And at the same time, like this month, what we've done at KLYK, actually, we've got all of our team members to bring in any cans of food that they use, and we're donating them to a homeless charity. So even things like that, where you're not using things, don't hoard things. Give them away.
Yeah.
Embrace the culture of doing more with less.
Asad, I'm gonna play a video, if you don't mind. It'll just take one minute. So just ask the technicians to play a video.
Question in my mind that I'm the person for you. Your forecast of 1.8, you want that to go this year to maybe 5 million, and then next year 10.
Yeah,
And I don't think there's anybody else that can do that apart from me,
I doubt that.
because you just don't have the routes to market that I have, and Tej certainly doesn't.
Okay, look, if you want distribution, Peter's your guy. But if
No,
you
no,
wanna
I don't
create-
know, I'm not
Well,
distribution.
can I speak?
No, but don't talk about me. Talk about you.
Well, this is my opinion. If you want distribution, go to Peter.
No.
But if you want to create a healthcare brand in the tech space, there's no one else here that can create a healthcare brand like I can globally.
The offers are in. It's up to you. Do you want to think about it?
Asad, you managed to have 2 dragons fighting over you. Firstly, tell us about the experience of, facing the dragons. And by the way, just a side note for the dear viewers who don't understand this program, it's called Dragon's Den, where entrepreneurs come in front of 4 or 5 successful businessmen or businesswomen, and they pitch their ideas, and whether the dragons, the businessmen or women, they invest in that idea. But tell us about your experience in that.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. So this was for the business Oki Shield, which is the one that I combined the optical with the technology market. It was a phenomenal experience. So we applied for it, I think it was 9 months before we went on. And you go through 3 or 4 rounds of basically screening you. And they're looking for, is there a good business idea? But also, are you, I guess, TV worthy? Are you going to be able to pitch well? All that kind of stuff. So full screening process. They do due diligence on you, because obviously the dragons have to make a call in the den, so they want to make sure that the business investment is a good one potentially for the dragons. And then it was during the pandemic. I went down there, and Manchester was in lockdown actually. So it was where it's all filmed, and so when the town centre was deserted, and
wow.
The next day we got there at 9 o'clock, and we found out that we were on stage at 3 o'clock in the afternoon before going on. I think it was 5. So the first bubble that I'll burst is that there is no lift. At the beginning of the actual program that you got lift. There's no lift.
Oh, really?
It's all yeah. So it's all one big stage. Once you're in the den, it's game time, and really? It's a full-on pitch, and not staged. It was 2 hours of pitching. And to be honest, I don't remember any cameras or anything like that. I think they do a really good job of not making it look like a film studio, but actually looking like a proper pitch area. And we pitched hard. I mean, Druvin, my co-founder in that business, he made us practice every single week for about 6 weeks, and we would literally stand opposite each other and read our pitch to one another. And we knew our numbers. I'm the numbers guy, we made
this
sure
is where everyone. So this is where everyone kind of fails, because as soon as they start with I'm an avid fan of Dragon's Den. I watch it all the time. But as soon as they start with numbers, the contestants crumble. And for the life of me, I'm thinking, you're going to be on this show, right? And you've had 6-7 weeks to at least practice, and the 3 rounds of screening. At least get your numbers right.
Yeah, exactly. But it's such a thing that entrepreneurs are very good at sales and marketing and stuff like that, but less good on numbers. And that's why you have partnerships, right? But I was always the numbers guy out of the 2 of us, and it was phenomenal. And we actually had 3 dragons that went out in quick succession after the pitch. So we were thinking, oh God, we're not going to get anything. And then before we went on, we wanted Peter and Tej, and it was amazing to get.
Really? So you intended before the show, you wanted both of them. And what happened in the end? I didn't finish the episode.
Yeah, so we got we got an offer from Peter, an offer from Tej. So Tej came in half the offer of Peter's,
right?
But we wanted to get both of them because Peter had actually, is a real role model for me. He's from the telco and tech industry. I used to read his books growing up, and he's a phenomenal entrepreneur. Tej, from a healthcare perspective, builds healthcare brands. So that combination of the technology and the healthcare side of things, again, with similar to my background, was what we wanted. And and then we had them basically fighting each other on the deal, which was crazy, because you're thinking, crap, where do you kind of come in, right, guys? We need to do a deal here. But I think they kind of very cleverly came together at the end, and they got the deal that they wanted as well. So I think everyone was happy.
Are you still in touch with Peter and Tej now?
Yes, yeah.
Oh,
So it's
fantastic.
yeah, they have incredible teams around them, and obviously they are huge dragons, as the kind of the name says it on the
Yeah,
and
yeah.
they have massive portfolios and very very impressive but very humble guys. A lot of these guys come
Okay.
from very humble beginnings, and they don't forget where they've come from,
Yeah.
and that's true entrepreneurs, like them. That's what it's all about. It's about supporting, it's about the energy,
Yeah.
and that's why they do it, right? As well, they love what they do.
Yeah. So look, on a last note, I've been grappling with the idea of having something similar for the Muslim community. Do you think a program where it's like a dragon's den, and you get entrepreneurs who are quite successful in their areas, and opening it up exclusively to Muslims who have ideas that can better the global Muslim community? Do you genuinely think that might work?
I think it's got huge potential. Huge potential. If you think of the Muslim pound and how big the market is getting, but even beyond that, amount of Muslims there are, the diversity as well that they bring to the conversation. I think people are really recognizing now that diversity is the key to innovation, and
Yeah.
we think differently, we act differently, we behave differently, and that's what brings the new ideas. That's what brings new perspectives. When you bring people together in a hot pot like that, that's what drives innovation. So
Absolutely.
100%, I think we have the ability to change the world, and I think something like that really will help enable that. So you
Asad,
should
we
absolutely
we
do.
need to we need to talk after the show, inshallah.
We should absolutely,
Look, I really, really appreciate your
absolutely.
time. I'd love to have a dedicated segment to tech, and how we can get more of our brothers and sisters at home who are, I'm sure, found this interview
Absolutely.
very valuable. But thank you so much for your time, Asad. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Take care. Good afternoon.
Okay, all the best. And that was Asad Hamir, co-founder of KLYK, KLYK, a sustainable company looking to better the operations that our companies currently do in terms of making it more sustainable, the hardware that they have. Anyway, so